So I don't think that this section is hard. I think it's technical, which I, I don't like really the word hard in mathematics because I think you can understand it if you kind of it's like a switch, right? Until you understand it, you're like completely lost. It's technical. And I guess why I'm telling you that it's technical because I think if you zone out on parts of this today, it's going to be really hard to kind of get yourself right in this. Okay. So that's my warning. All right. So we have to work with, it's called completing the square. Okay. And really what we're trying to do is get perfect squares. So something like this. Something I want to point out is on that last homework, we had a problem where we had to do something like this. And some of you wanted to say that the answer, I can't even, I don't even want to write it because it's so wrong. But a lot of you wanted to say that. And I remember having a math teacher that when you'd write something offensive in mathematics, she would write, no, and then like, right? So what's wrong with what that just did there? Yeah. Like, the middle term is missing, right? So we can't just do, we really want to think of this as x plus 9 times x plus 9, which gives us x squared plus 9x plus 9x plus 81. Okay, so we get that middle term. And then she never wrote like, yes, right? Okay, so I went ahead and I wrote that out. We have to kind of understand what's going on here. At one point in time, we learned this rule, and I said it's not that important. Okay, but it's also, but now it's going to be a little bit more important. But we understand this stuff better, so it'll be easier for us. So we end up with x squared plus, and because I just did this one up here, the middle term I know is going to be 18x plus 81. Okay. Let's close Chromebooks, make sure your cell phones are not being used so I don't have to take them. 1 second. All right. So what we need to notice is how these numbers relate with this number. What's the relationship? Yeah. Yep. Good. We're going to end up going backwards. So if I say this number is what? If I have 18, how do I get that number? Going the other way. Yeah, divide by 2, okay? Or I just like to say that it's half. Is that okay? And then once we have that number, what is this number? Other way. It's 9 to 81 is squared, okay? So then we're going to square that number. This will make more sense when we actually do one of these problems. And I want to show you that this actually works for all kinds of problems. So this one here, I'm going to FOIL out. We get x squared minus 5x plus 25. Or x squared minus 10x plus 25. So if I go backwards, this number related to that, we said was 1/2. Okay, so we half that number to get that one. And then to go back to figure out what this number is, we said we did what? Squared. So, do we have to know yes. Yes. Yeah. That's the technical part that you got to know why it happens. Okay. Yeah. You tell them. You don't even have it right now. Yes, I do. You want to see? So we're going to call this completing the square because we want to figure out how to make a perfect square. This is called perfect square because it's the same thing. So we can just put the 2 on there, which we say is squared. Okay. So this one here, there's going to be like 3 different variations of how to ask this question. They just want to know what would the C value be such that you can complete the square. Okay. So if I were trying to make the parentheses, I would say I have an X and an X. That's what gives me this. Then what number would I have to put here? Yeah, say again. 6. It would be a 6. And to make it so that it's a square, it has to be the same number. The question is, what would the C value be? Outside. What value? What would it equal? Plus 36. So this is our half number. And they're asking, what would this value be? And we take that number and we do what with it? Square it. So the answer to this question is that C equals 36. I kind of want to point out, it didn't really ask for any of this stuff. I just did it so that you could see where it came from. Sure. How can you do that with just looking at this one? Brody. So tell me on this one. Can you give me the answer? Yeah. Okay. So for those who didn't quite follow that, if we did the same thing, we're going to half this number. So we get the same thing. And then we're going to get C. We're going to square that number. So our C would be 4 squared. Are we okay with that? Okay. So in some sense, I would be okay with you just giving me the answer on that one. Okay. You can do it in your head. Okay. Yeah. I don't even think in some sense, I should just do it immediately, but it says what in the top right hand corner? Try doing both of these. Yep. See if you can do both of these. Mark that gap. With both of them? Yeah, why don't we try both? I guess if I don't have a calculator, or if you don't have one, I guess I won't have one when I do it. Long division. You can't do 21 times 21? I just did it in my head. That's so cat. Did I get it right? I'm not joking. No, I'm not joking. I had 4. Do 11. I'm not that good at that. I just figured it out. I'm not good. No. Yeah, that's not right. Whoa. No, that's what I said. Yeah. Oh, I was right. Oh, yeah. Oh, never mind. I'm not right. Wait, what? Show me how you did that. Multiplication?
I did multiply. Oh, wait.
It's been a long time since you had to do that, probably, huh?
Yes. I've used a calculator. Can we have a calculator the whole entire time?
Yeah.
Take another big giant sip. Just recall, I beat you.
Nice.
I beat you.
Or you could grab one from Maya. Half of 17. 8. That's right. Ooh. Did you guys already finish this one?
Yeah. I got it.
You could do the 8.5 times 8.5 in your head.
No, I did it on paper.
Mm-mm.
Never mind. I saw like 72.2 whole. Oh my god, Mr. Collins, I literally got it right. I beat you. I'm faster than the teacher.
All right, so do me a favor and write on here type 1 nice and big, because that's the first type of question they'll ask you. It's just what value do I need to complete the square? Okay? And all 4 of those problems we just did were all type 1. Just give me the value. And technically, especially for these ones up here, just giving me the value is fine. Okay? The work is kind of nice because it proves to yourself why that's the value, but you don't actually have to do that. This is type 2. They actually now want you to solve. No, we're going to complete the square. Okay, so, and I'll show you it's kind of like factored form, but it's a little bit different. So we got to solve by completing the square. Here is the thing that is a little bit saddening, is on the test, there'll be a question like this, and it'll say solve by Desmos, right? And someone yesterday was like, this is so easy when it's Desmos. Yeah, you just type it in, spit out the answer, right? Solve by factoring. You have to show that you factored it. If you don't factor it, then you will, oh, that reminds me, I didn't take 10. You will not get any points. Solve by completing the square. If you use a different method, you get no points. So you have to learn all these methods. I got to beat their phone call. Let's see here. Eli's not here. Yeah, I got to go quick. You know what she says when she calls?
What?
She says, is everybody there? Every single time. Okay. Da, 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 da,
Is she
da.
talking about like the students or the people in here?
It's just her way of saying you didn't take attendance. Okay.
What does T mean, Tony?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot. Hannah.
No.
Yeah. Just kidding. All right.
No.
You like that power? All right. Completing the square type 2. Okay. So this time they actually want you to solve by completing the square. We're going to do the same thing, but now we actually have to show all the work. Okay. Step 1 is we don't want this number here. We want it to be a C that we get to make up. So the first step is to kick it out. So x squared plus 10x space equals 9. Because we're going to put a number in there. What number will complete the square? Yeah, Brody. 25. How did he get that? We literally, Brody, I know you know how to do it, but somebody else, how did we get that? Yeah. We squared 5. We took this number. We know we're going to end up with x plus 5 squared. That is our goal. And this now we have to write this. Because we took this number and we halved it, right? And then we take that number and then we're going to square it. And it's 20, so plus 25. I'm allowed to add 25 if I do what? Yeah. Add it to both sides. So I'm allowed to just say, you know what? I want a 25 in this problem as long as I add 25 to both sides. So now my problem says x plus 5 squared equals, what is that, 34? We're trying to find the x that's the solution to this. This is why completing the square is a problem. Now, how do I get rid of this squared? we just did the work to undo that, but it's so tempting to want to do that, but that's not what we do. We're going to square root both sides. When I square root both sides, that squared and that square root will eat each other, and we get x plus 5. Yep. Well, not really.
No, they're different species.
Yeah. Equals, now here's another technical part. Something I forgot to do. When I square root, I'm supposed to do what?
Both sides.
Okay, and I did that. But what else do I need to do? I don't know that we've seen it. We haven't really had to see it too much. But if I square root both sides, I have to say plus or minus would work. So this right side is going to be plus or minus the square root of 34. Okay. So how do I finish solving for x? Yeah, Brody? Okay, well, kind of. We're going to do that, but not yet. I want x by itself. Subtract 5 from both sides. And this is where we got to be kind of careful. This is a negative 5 and plus or minus the square root of 34. How many answers are sitting right there? How many answers are there?
One.
Two answers. Now, I will accept this answer.
Oh, great. Oh, that's good.
Okay, you don't like that? But if I say, give me the decimal form, then I'm asking you to figure out what that square root is. Now, this is another technical part. Negative 5. I do not have a button plus or minus in this calculator. There isn't one on Desmos. What does that plus or minus mean? I could put a positive in. I could put a negative in. That's how I get what? How many answers am I supposed to get? Two. That's how I get my two answers. So negative 5 plus the square root of 34. And then what's my other answer?
5 plus.
The other one is the same thing, but minus the square root of 34. Okay. So my two answers in decimal form is 0.83 and negative 10.83 based on doing that in the calculator. If this was like square root of 25, then you have to finish the problem, okay? Meaning I would not accept this answer because what is the square root of 25? 5. It's a nice number. It works out, okay? So I'd accept either the decimal form or I would accept the square root form. Okay, you'll have to read the directions on on Desmos or on Savas to see what form it wants. Okay, next problem. Same thing. We got to do the same thing. So I want to go up here and I want to write some of my steps. Can you tell me what my first step was? Before that, I had to do something. Yeah. Okay, say again. Add 6. So my first step here is to kick out. It's okay. So kick out. I don't want to call it C, but it kind of makes sense to call it C. But kick out, let's just say number, okay, without X. Step 2, I like that. We're going to say X plus what? How do we find that thing? Half. Does it make sense if I say X plus half?
No, you have to have the number.
Right, but we don't have a number. We're just saying in generic form, we gotta.
I guess it doesn't. It could be 1/4.
Basically, I'm saying X plus whatever half that number is.
It's 3.
And this one, it's no.
Negative 8.
So you just half in B?
Half in B. I love that even better. So can I just write half B? That's even better. Thank you, Maya. You saved me. And then what do? We add half of B squared to both sides. And then there's a lot of steps here, but I'm just going to write solve. There are a lot of steps in that solve part, but that at least gets us going. So let's follow our own direction. Step 1, it says kick out number without x. So what do I do in this problem? Add 6. So x squared minus 8x blank equals 6. I leave that blank there because I'm going to put the c that I want there. Step 2, I want to make my parenthesis x plus half of b. Negative 4. I should make this a negative then here.
Why is it negative?
Because half of negative 8. Then I said make sure we square that number and add it to both sides. Negative 4 squared, it's 16. So I can make this work if I put 16 there. I'm only allowed to do that if I do it to both sides. So then I get, what'd you say? 22? Okay. Be nice, be nice. Then I said solve. What's our first step to solving these? Square root both sides. When I square root, technically there should be a plus or minus going there. So then I end up with x minus 4 equals plus or minus square root of 22. What do I do next? Add 4. X equals 4 plus or minus square root of 22.
So why would we like go farther
Than that? So if the question was like round to the nearest tenth, then it's saying I don't want that, right? If this was like, if this was an example of how many people could fit in the bus, I wouldn't tell my boss 4 plus or minus square root of 22, right? I would say, I would round it to the nearest whole number. I would want to say like these numbers, okay? If it's when we get to a problem where it's a word problem, we have to then keep going. So just so we know, 4 plus square root of 22 is 8.6. 9, and then 4 minus square root of 22 is negative 0.69. Okay. All right. Do you have to do that? It depends on what the question's asking. So on our homework, it says solve each equation. It doesn't say what form I want it in. Online, if it says give it to me in a radical or square roots, then you leave it square roots. If it says give me decimals, then you have to take it to the next step. Good question. Okay. What are the solutions to the quadratic equation solved by completing the square? So I want to go a little bit faster. Okay. So what I want to do first is I want to kick out 8. I want to go ahead and write what's going to be my perfect square. I only am allowed to do that because there's a magic number that goes here, which is negative 1 squared, which is 1 plus 1. Got to do it to both sides. That means this really equals 9. and then solve. First step of solving this, square root both sides. When I square root both sides, I got to write plus or minus over here. I get a minus 1 equals plus or minus square root of 9. Add 1. Some of you look confused. Are we okay?
That's the answer, right?
No, you just add the one.
A equals 1 plus or minus square root of 9. I would not accept this answer. Why? Because you can simplify it and it'll still be nice. What is the square root of 9? 3. So really this is A equals 1 plus or minus 3. 1 plus 3?
Is 4.
4. 1 minus 3
Is 2.
is negative 2.